So welcome to Junction Arts and Media, or JAM as we call ourselves. So happy that many of you have returned, or if you're new, welcome for the first time. We are a nonprofit community media arts organization. We operate the 2 local cable access channels as well as our upcoming film festival. So I would like to make a little pitch for RIF. February 15th to the 18th, we will be hosting the White River Indie Film Festival here at JAM and upstairs in the Briggs Opera House. We have an incredible lineup of new global films, including 3 Oscar nominees. We have local filmmakers. We have a Filmmaker Friday, which will have a story workshop, indie filmmaking, from sound to documentary to acting for the camera. So that's on February 16th during the day. But all throughout the weekend, we're going to be having great events around the films, conversations sparked by them. For example, Saturday we have a documentary called Join or Die. And this group is really a living embodiment of the principle of that film about the importance of clubs and joining organizations of common interest as a foundation to our democracy. That film features the author of Bowling Alone, if you know that book, Robert Putnam, and it's really quite fascinating. So I hope that you can come to RIF. I also want to promote this Saturday, we have a really special experimental dance performance by Rachel Burnson, who's a very talented artist who's moved to our area during the pandemic. There will be live music and live performance. It'll be in this space, kind of in the round, and should be a beautiful event. 5:30 on Saturday, over by 7 if you're heading off to the theater or dinner. As far as the recording tonight, we're asking your permission to record your poem, just to share with our local channels and JAM platforms like YouTube. If you have a problem with that, you can just let us know, or if after the fact you think, I actually don't want to have that out there, that's totally okay. But if you do, we really appreciate it. It's part of documenting our community and expanding the reach of who can enjoy the great work that's going on in our community. So welcome to our newcomers, and I am going to turn it over to you now. Oh, I'm sorry, one last thing, which is there is a restroom if you're brave enough to navigate through the construction that's going on, just through the blue door, through the storage closet, head to the backmost corner of the mess, and then good luck coming back.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm glad we are keeping this thing alive. For those who don't know, we're called Lampshade Poets because around the corner, this all began in a shop that sold lampshades. And so we met there once a month and read poems to each other, but then for some reason we left there, we moved down the street a little bit, but then COVID killed the whole thing. But Pam Allen and I, we ran into each other at Bookstock and we said, hey, why don't we do that again? So here we are. This is our second venture into the Lampshade Poets. I have a pitch before we get going, and that is I'm one of the organizers of Poem Town Randolph, which is a celebration of National Poetry Month in the month of April, and we asked for poets from all over the state of Vermont to send us poems. They're blind read, and the best ones are chosen and they're put on big broadsides and posted on all the store windows downtown and along a path to the river. So I will leave the address over by the cookies. If you want to sign up and send me a poem, or 2 poems, 24 lines maximum. So if you want to
get in the book.
And if you are chosen, not only are you spread all over the town of Randolph for a month, but we create a little book, a little anthology book. It was really quite lovely. So here's...
How many years have you done that?
11. This is our 11th year.
It's a big event.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff going on for the whole month. Big event.
All right then.
Good event.
One of my favorite poets, Billy Collins, made a statement in his introduction to his online masterclass. And now this is going to be my introduction to you all. He quipped, that it's best to read poetry out loud. Dogs are very good to read poetry to. Cats, not so much. Goldfish are good for your first audience before sending your poetry out into the world. And so I'm going to transmorphication all of you, and you are now goldfish. Because he said that goldfish are really good at it. Therefore, we will ask Aaron to be the first victim.
Thank you. A technical question. I've heard rumors that we should only read a few or two or...
Let's start with 2, and if we have time, we can throw in another few.
So I have 2 to read. So the first one here is called Competitive Pay. Workers from a retail store gather in the aisles, armed with whatever they find, to fight for better pay. Managers and owners stand by, watching the action and making bets. The victors get $15 an hour. The losers go home in hefty garbage bags. A battle begins in the frozen food section. One cashier has a bag of green peas. A stock boy has a Tony's pizza. They're ready to earn their raise with blood. A moment into the supermarket scuffle, and the cashier is on top of the stock boy, strangling him with a bag of peas. Fluorescent lights flicker. It's over. Clean up on aisle 12. And the second one is Elegy for My Dryer. Oh, Kenmore, warmth radiates no longer. Your cycle is at an end. As you cease to tumble, I mourn for you. To me, your vision, wrinkleless forever, is permanently pressed upon my heart. Such comfort was your heat, time to dry my tears away. But here, as you are cold, dampened and soggy is my soul. Now, broken that you're gone, my world is forever dripping as pieces of me lay in a puddle on the floor.
How many lines is that?
So that is 17.
You should enter it.
Yeah? Okay.
All right, next up is Becky Vickers.
I was third.
Well, there's no second.
Somebody elevated.
Should we say a prayer for the second?
That's it, not Becky. All righty. So everything is newish since at least the last time I read, and so I don't think there's anything you've all heard, let's put it that way.
Do you mind if I just adjust the microphone?
Yeah, I'm looking at lights and thing on here and trying to get the right combination. Thank you. Okay. Gordo. One hot spring afternoon in college, Gordo, a compact boy from Colorado, invites me to scale a short, rugged cliff face. Before I can even map a route, he's gone up, looks down from the top. Dressed for campus in t-shirt, cutoffs, flats, inflated with ignorant confidence, I follow, picking my way until, with a quick side glance down, freeze, paralyzed. A limpet clamped to rock, mind buzzing blank. When no encouragement dislodges me, Gordo comes down and swiftly up behind, presses against, envelops, his sweaty heat thawing me, and hand by handhold, crag by small crag, he guides me to the top. That night, alone together, Skinny dipping at a friend's pool, I invite Gordo to make love, to feel again the body to body that seemed to have saved my life, to return with a language I know as he had known the cliff. And though we lie kissing on the still warm concrete pool edge, he won't, says he's saving himself for marriage. This is not quite so lighthearted. Nature, Maine. One brilliant cerulean sunny early May morning on a small uninhabited island in the Penobscot Bay, our Boston whaler moored back in a cove, we breathed salt air, take in the view from a stone outcrop. We watched, charmed by a brown speckled sea duck below, followed obediently by a string of half a dozen ducklings still learning swimming and tides, likely her only brood that year, when screeching, squawking, white flashing gulls dive-bomb the ducklings again and again and again and again and again and again. We scream into the wind, throw useless rocks at the gulls, who jab and grab at each duckling one by one as the mother frantically circles them until all are gone, and still she circles in hopeless hunting, finally paddles away. Exactly.
And now Annie Bauer.
Okay. Last time I was here, I didn't have printouts. I had to hold my laptop, and that was not comfortable, so I'm feeling much better this time. Okay. So, back in April, Pam and I went to the Hood Museum, determined that we were going to try and write ekphrastic poetry, poetry inspired by art of some kind. And we both found it quite difficult. Remember?
0 for me. Is that for me?
I wrote 2 actually, but this is one.
It's wonderful.
And it was a wonderful exhibit, excuse me, of Mexican art, political art mostly, posters and things like that. Okay, so this is called Untitled, and it was inspired by Francisco Camplice's Untitled from the Galería de las Razas 1975 calendario, the calendar, okay. Part of a large exhibit at the Hood. Untitled. February's 28 days and all other months, 24/7, 365. Money, muscles, lofty ideals aside. In bright branded hats, drugged by cults or leaders' words, men swing their chains and batons across each year's landscape. Crush our hands, rip away our treasured documents, afraid our old pages truly guard promises. This is a poem that has actually been published in an anthology that was honoring Toni Morrison. And I have no idea why they chose this one of the 3 that I sent them. It's called Road Jazz. My boots shush and pad the dirt road, patches of ice, patches of snow, and past bare trees, the farmer's tractor has left row upon row of concentric circles from haying his field, where morning's flurry, caught in stubble, paints the pattern. And farther along, peeled of bark and full of holes, dead trees march with live, maples mostly, edging the road, easy access for tapping. But now, incessant rapping I've been hearing as I walk grows louder, and higher up on one decrepit tree, a pileated woodpecker drums his search for insects or to make a shelter. Red-topped head and long beak in staccato beat that follows as I walk on, delight, a rhythm in my blood.
Next up, Ina Anderson. A bit. Yeah. Rescue. Yeah, lovely. Great. Thank you. See. Hi. Who knows today is Imbolc?
Is what?
Yeah, that's what I thought you might say, Kyle.
I heard you talk about it.
I thought it might happen. It's Imbolc. It's a major holiday in the Celtic cycles. You could know it as halfway between the solstice and the equinox, and it might make sense to you. Where I come from, there's not all that on the ground out there, and Imbolc is known, if you're lucky, it's when, not coming up at all, but beneath the ground, seeds stir. Feel that? I wanted to read then an Imbolc poem, Trick of the Light. This isn't going to sound like today, but anyway. It is 2 on a February afternoon at 44 latitude. The sun, single-minded in its descent, feels a pull towards true west. Imbolc, at the cross-quarter day, is behind us. Already we're hurtling towards the equinox. As human creatures, are we hefted on light as we are hefted on the familiar ground that raised us? In exile, at an alien latitude, do I spend a continuum of days, sunrise after sunset, in hollow attempt to adjust to a dearth of sunlight that jars with the light in my eyes? In these darkest, shortest days, I kindle my need fires and keep the dark outside my doors. Every dawn, I listen for the bird chatter that signals daylight. Every evening, I light candles at my shrines, baiting the dark to disappear. The wind sneaks through cracks in the doors and makes the vulnerable candles flutter. I keep faith and wait. So, after such thoughtfulness, oh, here comes the train again. Hard to compete with it, isn't it? So, is it Aaron is your name?
Yes.
I was glad there were some at least semi-political poems that you started with. At first that one, I thought the guys in the, that might revolt were great. This encouraged me then to read this. Seeing the light, an announcement by humans born with uteruses to those born without. Oh, hallelujah! Praise God! After our long and ignorant resistance, we realize now that for more than a century we have caused you nuisance, disrupted your great works, impeded your glorious progress. In humility now, we beg your forgiveness. In humility now, we beg your indulgence. Enlightened at last, we submit ourselves as your helpmates, your servants, your grateful slaves. All of us who are breast with breasts,
vulvas, uteruses, submit now to your purpose. Breed us without hesitation as you see fit. Breed us until we are no longer fit to be bred. Then dispose of us freely. And waste not the time it humbly takes us to produce your progeny. We offer ourselves to you during our pregnancies as laborers in domesticity, cleaning you, cleaning for you, entertaining you with our bodies. Oh, glorious day, our ignorance is past. We are forgiven. We are here for your use. Oh, glorious day.
On that note.
Do I have to go next? Oh my God. I think that. Oh my God. Okay. That's super duper. I wish Donald Hirschberg were here tonight, because this poem is kind of for him.
He wishes he were too, but he's away in Texas.
Right. He sent me an email. Donald is a retired anesthesiologist.
No.
No, then this poem is not valid. He's not?
No, it's, what's the thing where you do radiologist?
Oh my God. Okay, well, let's pretend. We'll just pretend that Donald Hirschberg is a retired anesthesiologist. And I don't even know her name. This is about a medical procedure, and I don't even know her name. And I can't see my lighting here. Hold on. Okay, I got it. I surrender under hospital sheets. Wonder why anyone would choose to rotor-root my pink penetralia, searching for signs of alien life. I'm wheeled into a yellow, bright room, meet the other doctor holding the tender tubing secured within my nostrils, the needle anesthesia. No twilight zone, instead a deep sleep, like death. Maybe real death will be as easy as sedation, a sweet lights-out fusion. An hour later, I'm a magpie shattering for saltines, loopy with life and realization. The colon's just one part of me, but breath, lungs, and heart constitute my life. Today, in the hands of a smiling stranger possessing the power to anesthetize or resuscitate, even obliterate. And I think I know why my anesthesiologist friend opted to retire that responsibility early and write poetry instead. I never knew he was a radiologist. I'll send him an email tonight. This is about a book that I saw on I-89, and I don't remember if I read this poem last month, but if I did, here it is again. A book, there in the median strip between the traffic maze of eastbound west. The book, pages opening, closing, like a cast-out accordion bellowed by wind of cars whistling their morning songs. In the book, a mystery? Is it a mystery, a memoir, a long and terrible novel? Does it warrant a wonderful read award? I'm breezing along, can't pull over to make the book my own. Me, pack rat of found remains. How does a book get trashed onto median soil only to lie among weeds and Queen Anne's lace? A hardcover doesn't balloon out a car window, float idyllically away. It's more a projectile from the fast lane, which would suggest someone tossed it. Maybe a passenger spitting words to road, or the driver caught up in thoughts and misgivings with an axe to grind as if the book were the issue. I've known anger. I've thrown things too. Quick fix for what I really wanted to do. Anger at myself for memorizing the golden book of obedience. For while I wasn't looking, it left me, my bona fide self, Now what remained for way too long was fiction. Maybe the book's a bitter pill, a crying shame, someone's frailty, become a wayside shrine.
Okay. I've never done this.
I love that.
They asked me if I was going to read, and I was like, no, I'm just hosting this event. But here I am. So thank you for being my first goldfish. This is what comes from being born after they sacked the temple. Rubble my playground. What did I know? I took as friend anyone willing to give me the time of day, which leaves me chronically longing for my missing pieces in others as other as possible from me. So you can see why loyalty to tribe doesn't come easily. I keep only one death count. That's from recent events, a recent war. This is from an older war. Shrapnel. My heart was so much hand-wringing, taking it to the streets among liberals ready for outrage. Mission accomplished and all that. Back to mothering as bombs dropped and city blocks ceased to be. But not you, who ripped through my ribs, remain lodged between right and left ventricles, a purple plume of anguish bleeding out of sight. Even this one can get used to, cease to feel. This too, you leave me. Thank you.
Marjorie Moorhead.
Hello. Ouch. My hair got. Oh, this is purple-ish.
Using the microphone.
Can I stand here instead? Because I could, I just want to be able to see. Okay.
Thank you.
Goldfish, goldfish. Yeah, I find that there are two aspects of doing poetry. One is the writing of it, where you're just with yourself and your ideas, and the other is the sharing of it. That's the hard part for me, and I appreciate this arena. I appreciate this tonight, this event, and this ongoing gathering, like as a place to share poetry, because I find that that's a difficult part for me. I don't have too much difficulty writing. But anyway, I had the pleasure of having 3 online starting this month for the month of February, and I'll just read the bio note so I don't have to ad-lib anymore. The events of October 2023 shook me, like most of the world, so I wrote about it. I was inspired by a poem I read called Why I Write, so I wrote my own version. I keep walking, I keep writing. My book, Every Small Breeze, came out late 2023 and will be followed by What I Ask in spring 2024.
Do you mind reading into the mic so we can hear you better? I know that probably isn't for your
Like this?
pleasure.
I'll try.
Okay.
Yep. October 2023. My head hurts, taking in an unfolding and building avalanche of disaster. My heart breaks as acts of evil and harm bring on more harm and destruction. There is no solution that will erase the killings. The misery will last for generations, trauma stitched into their veins. The only hope is to stop, to begin to repair, to cleanse and salve, to cradle and hug. When will that start? When will violence and vengeance and harm abate? Will humanity abide? And the second one is called Any Day's Treasure. It's a pantoum. There's a walk I take every day, a regular route uphill to Reservoir and back. I've been walking this walk for years. When the sun has risen, chased away any fog, but shadows remain. I head uphill to the reservoir to feel centered, calm and free. When the sun has chased away morning fog, but shadows remain, my precious time to calm, feel centered and free. The sidewalk stretches out, a path in front of me, precious time. Pulse flowing from heart to limbs, the sidewalk path welcoming me. This repeated walk, my reliable pleasure, coaxing flow from heart to extremity, an everyday walk, the jewel in any day's treasure.
Where's Hal? There you are. Hal Coughlin next.
Good evening. My name's Hal Coughlin. I like to think. Thank you.
Try to get as close as possible.
On the 1st of February, I can assure you I am ready for March. I think I said the same thing in December, but anyways, when I am with poets, I am among friends, is the way I look at things. The two poems I have tonight, one is shorter, the other's longer, and I suspect you will notice other differences between the two. The first one is called Hands. Oh, and one other thing, I think this poem might be able to help some of you, and the other odd thing is that all of the action takes place in a men's room.
Oh boy.
Hands. Heading into a public restroom, I did what needed to be done. With wet hands, I saw only a hot air-blowing hand dryer. Rubbing my hands together, I looked down at the dryer directions. Someone had carved with something sharp and with care and effort, a new final line. Wipe hands on pants. And I did with damp hands on the way out. The second poem, it's always interesting to see the response. Some poems get. But anyways, the second poem is, well, it's about my dad, and I keep changing the title, so we'll just say it's about my dad and go from there. The family patriarch is very ill. I haven't by choice spoken to my father for years. I'd worked for him, the old hard ass. It took me far too long to understand. I thought I was working with him. He thought I was just another abusable. I went into his room at the hospital. I was the only visitor, and we spoke about the weather with the grace of people avoiding most subjects. He said he had to go to the bathroom, and I helped him shuffle over to the toilet. He came out of the little bathroom and told me he was unable to wipe himself. I looked over at the call button for the nurse for a long moment. Not sure if he was serious or just unable to stop his personal power issues. Yeah, it was as unpleasant as you can imagine. Yeah, I had to, twice. He always insisted the job be done well. Besides, who the hell would I tell or would believe me? I thought the old hard ass was just another used up workaholic nearing the end, kind of flabby. Work always came before anything except the most basic taking care of himself. I looked at him as I helped him back to the bed. His nose looked okay, but really, could there be anything left to the grindstone? It was the last time I saw him. Trying different ways to unremember him took a few years, working through the bad, the few moments of sweetness. I have tried to become as unlike him as I am able to be. Except for these words, I haven't thought of him in I don't know how long. His name doesn't come up in my or family discussions. Unremembering is more difficult than I thought it would be. Some days it is too much, and I know I have failed again. I now try mixing memory and imagination. Let me tell you, about my wonderful, loving, sensitive, warm father. Thank you.
Wow.
Duncan, there you are. Duncan Holly.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So this is my self-published book from 2023. It's a great honor to be here, and I'm glad to share. My poems are usually about nature and the elements of nature. So let me see here. The first one is called Showering Shadows. Showering Shadows is about the aspects of night and shadow. Showering shadows. As the night sky eases into the passing daylight, twilight has shifted. Where the shadows from the trees and the shadows of the clouds blend together. All matte black, some really dark gray and deeper blues fill the void where sunlight used to be. The sky is so dark that even the tiniest speck of light, or some would say a star, cheers the times up. It's like being in an eternal cave, not bounded by stone walls, but boundless, limitless. As night shadow overwhelms and overpowers everything small and tangible to the touch, commanding respect the showering shadows do. And a shower of stars, even such a good omen, even just one star falling from the sky. When I reach out with my mind into that vacant void of space, all is all is quiet, still, cold, but soft. Where and when, if there is no physical matter for the sunlight to reflect off of, there will be no sound. There's not a lot up there to our naked eyes, but empty space sure is something to dream of. It's quite peaceful, it's quite tranquil. The sound up there isn't the same, it kind of hums a little, or even a slight purr. What I mean to convey is that even the emptiness of space and darkness has a presence, something looming, some form of higher power. I'm curious but don't know what time is like up there either. Maybe one day we will know, but for the showering of shadows, may tonight be a peaceful night. I'm going to read one more. Wait. Oh, thank you. I'm going to read one more. And
Could you just tell, what's the word before shadows? I'm not getting
showering.
Oh, showering.
Showering.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Showering.
Thank you.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. The next one is called Rainy Days, Always Wanting Sun Rays. This one is about how it's about this time of year that we're currently experiencing, where the shift between winter and spring, where everything is kind of Rainy days, always wanting sun rays. Here in the hills of Vermont, hence New England, those few weeks between winter and spring, we have an additional season called mud season. The sky is gray with overcasts and clouds due to the melting snow, therefore precipitation, and then it rains too much. Drives some of us mad, and myself depressed. The lack of sun keeps the temperature and air raw. Cold and madness creeps inside the mind, as this madness casts an overshadow over the land. Things are not what they seem. As Rainey says, our wan days, I dig deep down inside to remember Sundays and light rays. The warmth and comforting spring is right around the corner. I'm certain to hear songbirds and waiting for the spring peeping frogs at twilight. No, this mud season is not what it seems. It's only a temporary funk, and in the days of blues, when all I want to see is the big, open blue sky. Due to the lack of greenery on this barren landscape, the brown ground and brown trees are the remnants of life through winter, hardship earned and released by the warming weather. These lonesome weeks waiting for spring to peak, it's more than just hope after a long punishing winter. It's most comforting to know the relief of a refreshing spring is about to bud, as so do the trees renew their sense of green, and the melodies of songbirds glee to the ears. These songbirds are a clairvoyant reminder that warmth is on its way to bring sunnier days and peace of life awaits. Thank you. If anybody would like a copy of my book, we can talk afterwards. I have copies here, so just wanted to say that. Thank you, everybody.
I guess it's down to me. Sorry, Ina, that you've heard these before.
Not sorry at all, likely, Janet.
First one's called Parking Lot Philosophy. Oh my, what if I told you what I saw on the truck's back window at the shopping mall today? Words that first made me just burst out and cackle, mirthfully holding my sides. Then, actually, staring, never having seen such a phrase, such an admission before. Then towering over me, my thoughts, my fears, my anxieties of our time. Way back from the Greek tragedian Aeschylus, yes, I say tragedian, something should be harbored in us all our hearts and minds. He wrote of the importance to tame savageness of man and make gentle the life of the world. What, you ask, was on the back of that parked truck? Please forgive me, I was raised by wolves. And I really did see that. The second one is called Reverse Heroics. Nearing the put-in on the Allagash, we were two happy couples in a car, my guy and two old friends, the canoes traveling along on the top. In conversation, the other man had muttered to me, "I wouldn't want you in my foxhole." Oh, I think of battlefields and heroics, purpose and specially trained abilities. Off we went, John and wife venturing before us, facing glorious, wild, gushing white water, with trusty dog Mo and the wanigan full of lunch, beer, and my fresh chocolate chip cookies. I in the stern of our beloved green old town, judging, calculating, measuring, watching, the heady joy of adventure, maybe danger, but knowing the importance of choice. Over into the brink crashed our brave soldier, grabbing over rocks, the overturned canoe gone. He then soaking on the shore, incoherent, hypothermic. I safely downstream, preferring my own private foxhole. I'd say we had time for more. Anybody have some more? Aaron?
I've got more.
Are the people who came in late? Maybe we have some people in the back with some.
I signed up, I don't know where the open mic part begins and where people who have signed on.
I saw you sign, that's the jam list, not the poetry list.
All right, standing man, come on down.
And Buzz too, yeah.
I guess I signed the wrong list.
Say your name again.
I can. I live most of the time here, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
My name's Doris Berliger. I'm from Philadelphia, and I'm part-time here now that my partner lives up here. Recently published fifth book of mine called To Claim Loneliness, mostly about being a daughter of Holocaust survivors, so I'll read a couple. This one is not about that, but it's called Love Letter from Time. I love the word emergency. Its redness, its lack of eventuality, its flash and crime, its brothers burn and rope. I love the way humans startle. The jerk back of the body, the lunge forward. No sideways movements come with emergency. No rhythmic beat or brush of drum begins it. Always the rigid riot. Sometimes a pall of silence covers the body so it looks like the silvery sheet. Tissue light, tissue thin, is far less than volcanic. Emergency. I like the evenness of its 4 syllables. How it takes too long to say it. By the time you say fire, the house is rubble. By the time you say smoke, the sparrow, the titwillow are hollowed out and featherless. It's an odd poem. I wrote that poem at a Terence Hayes workshop when we were reading people like Ashbery, who I never understand. It's a more understandable one. Mama would say Sarah or Hella, then turn her head side to side, look up into the blue or billowy sky. Mama would say, Sarah, her bunker was supposed to be safe. Sarah, so beautiful, her teeth not so straight. Mama would say, Hella, too many swords to stay in the lifeline. Oi, shoulder off, Hella, stand up, Mama would invoke the dead. A sudden crowd of starlings comes to roost in the tulip trees. Never such a symphony in Mama Shtetl. I myself am someone comfortable with tones about 1 decibel above the quiet of a library. Could I be gracious enough then to call it grace? The raucous starlings come to visit. Ancestral spirits making a racket in the tulip trees. And I'll just read one more. This is again about Mama. I can't imagine Mama ever claiming loneliness. Mama with telephone receiver in hand and 2 surviving sisters on the other end of the line, at least 5 times a day back when party lines let them listen in on strangers' conversations, which could have been about private parts or potato recipes. Mama and her sisters who propped each other up in the roll call lines of Bergen-Belsen, Auschwitz, Majdanek, were never alone as long as they held the phone receiver in their hands, until the husbands came home from work and the chicken baked a beautiful bronze. Thanks. I'm happy to give anybody a copy of this book if you just give me your address and I'll mail it to you. I'm not selling at this point.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Well, good evening. I'm Partridge, and it's wonderful to be here and to see and hear all of you again after it's been a while. And thanks, Janet and Pam, for taking up the torch that Dave Salone was carrying. The lampshaded torch. So, our trio, our poetry music trio, has the great fortune of having its first tour of Ireland this spring.
Oh, good.
So, in anticipation of that, I'd like to read you a poem from West Cork. This is from Sheep's Head, way out on the very southwestern tip of Ireland. The Poet's Way wends from walled paddocks through a mute glen of seagrass, curried by ceaseless susurration, gleaming secrets from a pentameter of countless steps who passed here one to the next. And by the time you reach the lighthouse and peer into a tidal crevasse where 3 girls drowned a century ago and so added their names to the cliff's brutal beauty, and see the stray lamb suckling his stray mother where the land ends, and wonder how sheep could wander so far in the shepherd's dream? And what moved people to farm such rocky, desolate slopes where wind tears at mandrake roots? And why still they try? Unless perhaps the gale's plaintive howl reminds them every moment to joyfully toss their entire life into the scales of fate. And by the time you pass a small shrine tucked into the cliffside, Our Lady of the Wayside, her open arms and beatific gaze imparting succoring grace to any wayward traveler in need of rest or strength, plodding hungrily up to the car park stone cafe to brave the tour bus crowd after communing all day with metaphysics of wind and sea. The solitary self, a high cairn set in stark relief against the sky, straining, reaching out to touch what's either light in God's face or the backside of just another cliche, before your soul can get its bearings and shrink. You leave their safe, complacent numbers behind to amble final miles on legs gone slack, your sun and salt-lashed face glowing, transfigured by forces no mill or pen can harness. Your spirit untamable and wild as white horses galloping across the bay. It's impossible to say where exactly, which view among hundreds, what beauty too breathless to be held or lost too sad to retell, what stretch of rock or dirt or bog sacrificed itself to the gust that blew your heart open, which stile you clambered over, meandering unmown fields of farms perennially on the edge of ruin, trusting a well-trod thread as your head wandered aimless as a poet's cloud over landscapes real and imagined, fingering scales laden with the weight of unshorn wool, turning your back on numbers and stones when the nurse weighs you from birth until your last appointment's intake, every measuring up, a gathering and scattering until even that staunch superstition fades and falls away in the joyous, mournful moan of your mother's sulky voice drifting out with the tide. You toss your entire life in anyway, shattered and unrecognizable to anyone but you, burnished clean of every bright path, tried or true, the fleet shadow of every thought. Thanks.
When do we have to leave?
I don't know, when do we have to leave?
How much time do we have?
I mean, we have a little more time if you,
It
more
said
people.
8:30.
Yeah, we said till 8:30.
What time is it?
8 o'clock? Anybody
Do you
else?
have another one, you said?
Yeah, I'll do one, sure. So usually, my audience is my dog.
Not goldfish?
No, no goldfish. And usually I also have poems about dogs. And one's in this file and I'll spare you. So this one is called, and no one but the dog has heard this, so it's good for me to be saying it out loud. I mean, I do say things out loud at home, but at least with a kind of, not a kind of audience, with an audience. So it's called Lacking Heroism. As a good enough, rather than notably good person, no one will cite me for an Unsung Heroes NPR segment. For stranger to stranger random acts of kindness. A well-dressed man who fell at my feet in Midtown Manhattan after my own wine-laced lunch I judged drunk, his upturned face deeply flushed, spotlit by late midday sun. Hurrying to meet someone, distracted, propelled, I stepped around him as others rushed to help. Ever since, imagine he might have been suddenly ill, fainting, heart attack, stroke, low blood sugar, unknown. And I, unsettled, bemused, because he was near twin to the man I was in an unbecoming affair with back home. My instincts, snap judgments, too often off to know the chances I should clutch at, generosities act on, those counter to ego view, knee-jerk solipsism. I'll bring something lighter the next time.
Okay, next time we line up by height.
This one's a short one here. Okay, this is called Finding Joy. Sometimes finding joy in pain is all you can do. Just like a caught fish flying through the air, enjoying the view.
Yeah.
I'll try a couple more. I will also cheerfully recommend that the website that has the Lampshade Poets on the internet is worth a look. Or to put it another way, I find watching myself read some poems is very educational.
Oh, you're talking the YouTube side.
YouTube, thank you, that's the right way to say it. Yep. So just two more, if you'll allow me. And the first one, watching wallpaper. It is a cream-colored vinyl wallpaper with a design of vines climbing to the ceiling, adhered to the wall by the low bid. Bill is 72 years old, and I am in his shared room with his comatose roommate in a nursing home. He is laying on his bed and pointing to the wallpapered wall. He is only able to get out one or two words at most, and it takes a while to have him explain with me, filling in large gaps. It is a black man on a bicycle riding it underwater. On another visit, he sees on the wallpaper a two-story stone house on an island in Mexico. He has never been to Mexico. I tell him I can't see it on the wallpaper, but if he sees it, that's okay. He often cannot find a word and grunts in frustration. I try small humorous comments, sometimes getting a smile, and am unable to say how much is going on in his mind. It was not part of my hospice training, but I never doubt or argue with visions, his, mine, or yours. The white space on a page of poetry. Wandering among words, I found a casual reference to Chinese women's writing. Always curious, it leads me to nushu, an odd, difficult variation of Chinese writing, conceived only by women for a few hundred years, ending in the late 1800s. During the time, women were denied any access to normal education. This secret form, with death the common result of being found using it, was used for poetry, among other things women said only to women. Many of these upper-class women had this correspondence buried with them. It was written on the middle of the page, the understanding being that the white space was for a reply, beginning or continuing a conversation. And that should take care of me, and I thank you again.
I think I can see better without my glasses. I don't think the Veraclux lens works very good anymore. I could not see what I was doing before. At a workshop at Fine Arts Work Center a couple of years ago, when we were talking about bees, or Nick Flynn was talking about bees, and was flying across the room, and suddenly This black thing was flying across the room in front of my eyes. This is true. And it's the floater thing, if you have had floaters. And it was really scary. Okay, so this floater thing is really called Vitreous Humor. It's just a very short poem. Hopefully I will be able to see it. Vitreous Humor. Black-winged nuisance, lately annoying my eye, my equanimity, the amorphous rustle of its wing, I try and swat away. What seems outside isn't a dark piece of me cracking free. Images loud with ocular flare, sky redone, looking with one eye, listening with the other.
That one? Yeah. That should work, yeah. I hope this will work for you. It's a little bit long. It's a story poem about my childhood. Whoops. Sorry. Yeah. I think I was about 11 or 12, and it will be self-explanatory. And it's called Pyrenees. Had we just sung a song together, one of our car songs, Old MacDonald or Daisy Daisy, or had we just been gazing in silence out the car windows, awed by the Pyrenean range? Suddenly my dad was exhilarated by the climb, so competent on the hairpin bends, up and up, gravel spinning, the setting sun glinting on his horn-rimmed glasses. The back seat was my domain, along with the picnic baskets and the extra cardigans. My mother navigated from the front left seat, competent and serene. We stopped for a moment by the marker at the highest point, elevation 1,000 meters, named in Spanish. Dusk coming, no one seen for miles. My father kept his engine running. I remember us all smiling on top of the world. We had just begun the steep descent when from out behind the crags they came, 8 of them at least, and they had guns. Their hair was wild, their eyes were wild, they had a fierce intent. From both sides of the road they came, leaping down at our car, no room to speed away, no chance for quick escape. My father halted the car. He gripped the steering wheel and stared straight ahead. My mother stiffened ramrod in her seat, whimpering squeakily. Behind them, as if in a dream, my eyes locked and time stood still. Perhaps it was their leader who tapped on Dad's window with his rifle. The others stood back, eyes piercing our windows through the dusk. The car seemed a cocoon that would shatter at any moment. The leader tapped on the window once again. I remember my father's calm. I remember his careful, rapid consideration, that moment, that silence, all but for that tap, tap on the window, and the trilling of a bird high in the graying sky. Carefully, slowly, Dad wound the window down, his knuckle white, his breathing carefully slow. He brought the window down an inch or two and turned towards that fierce face so close to his outside the glass. The bandit lowered his rifle, reached in his breast pocket. All 3 of us inside held our breaths. Would this be the end? Was it only a moment ago we were singing? From his jacket pocket, the man's hand, worn and pitted, brought out an envelope, a letter. The script was spidery and fine. On the corner was a Spanish stamp. "Postale," he panted through the small gap in the window. "Postale, postale," he signed with his hands, and his eyes turned from fierce to pleading. My father carefully took the letter, carefully nodded his head, nodded over and over, looking the man directly in the eye. "Postale," he whispered, placing the envelope in his own breast pocket. Then, slowly, he wound up the window, put the car into gear, and carefully drew away. Our eyes peered warily at the rear-view mirror, none of us daring to turn to see for real the bandits lined up behind us in the road. In the mirror, we saw their leader salute us with a wave. Oh, was it 50 kilometers or 10? We rolled through the hairpins, down, down into the town. Nothing broke our silence until Dad saw the letterbox and shoved that letter in. And then we all broke into laughter, and Dad broke into song. "Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer due."
Hello again. So this next poem is called "What a Time It Is." A little bit about this. It was about what I was going through with the pandemic, and how I was confronted with my own personal struggles and also society. And the other interesting thing about "What a Time It Is I originally wrote it as a poem, but then I decided to crop it, and I submitted it as a letter to an op-ed to the news. And I was like, no, I want to keep the poem, so I ended up putting the poem in the book. And the other really amazing thing about this is when I was writing this poem, I was dreaming about moments like this, where we were communing as people and really cooperating and getting along and doing amazing things. And this poem was kind of about this dream. So I just wanted to say that, what a time it is. Here we are, faced with opportunities. Decisions must be made based on the best of our knowledge. We do the best we can through the challenges, through the conflicts, decisive enough to seize a moment or catch a glimpse of something hopeful or something memorable. When we think of ourselves, do we think of the comforts or the privileges or the easy way out? And to what ending would that bring us? But what if we can think of ourselves to become a part of something more, something greater than ourselves? To shed those layers of selfishness, to neutralize the violence, or hiding behind a mask, where the voids of loneliness are incomprehensible. Just an idea, dreaming about the ideal, to fill this empty space of chasms of loneliness. This is where these dreams are. From within, these moments are born. The ideal being a golden age of cooperation against hate, peace for the little people, gratitudes for the neighbors, and honesty in the face of greed. As this comparison could go on for eternities until the solutions have been made. What does this place of higher power mean to you, us, we? We, the community of people struggling to get along, the healers and dreamers, visionaries, artists and believers. How can we unite as one, to move as one as all the leaves on a tree do in the same wind? So, thank you.
One. Yeah, one.
I'll read one more after you.
Thinking of the 11 inches of snow in my yard, this poem does not really match that, but Ina took a bunch of us into the woods one day to look around and write, and so this was one of the things that I came up with, called A Forest Dance. The sunlight filters into your home, and I see you rising there. A quilt of pine needles, twigs, and stones surround your feet, which reach abroad. I see music in you as you curve, your delicate spine upwards, first to the left, then to the right, to the clouds and the blue. You are dancing and turning. You hear the breezes, as do I, and a red-eyed vireo provides your tunes. As you and I alone here in your home glance about your surrounding peace. Otherwise silent rocks, gently swaying ferns, the footfall of a fox over beyond us, and a hint of floral perfume on our dance floor. I hope you will always be here in your home, a home to yourself, to birds, to mosses, and be oblivious to our kind, which is not always kind.
Okay, I had so much fun the first time, I'll do it again. And just in case I forget, before we close out this evening, I just want to give a huge thanks to the two magical people who made this all happen, Cedar O'Dowd and Kate Berger from the James. And to say again, I hope that we'll see you here often. All right. This is called Pick Your Own. Just another instance of a New England mom cutting off strawberry tops after early morning picking with her son, under overripe ones in the jam pot, the perfect in a bowl for present eating. The chickens will consume the remains and no one will remember this day. The greater glory goes to the forest, leafing, breathing, dying beyond us. Thanks.